How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? All the earth will sing, how great is our God. Welcome to the Other Student Ministry Podcast, everybody. Justin Knowles here with my friend Matthew Ferrer.
Hey, everybody.
And man, Matt, get me on that worship team, bro.
The invite is in your inbox right now.
Gosh, I was just bringing it back. That's like when I was in high school.
We'll be taking requests moving forward.
Yeah.
Just email us, tweet us.
Yeah, shoot us like at the Other SM podcast on Twitter. Just say like, hey, what song do you want Justin to sing next? And I'll bust it out for you, whatever we got. It's either between that or Shouts to the Lord. And
I
so,
want to hear You Are Good. You remember that old Israel Houghton tune?
You are good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah,
See,
I want
like
some
that.
of that gospel, dude.
Dude, it's going to be, I love that song. It's really good. I like it.
It's a good song.
Okay.
It's a good song.
Guys, so glad to be back with you and just kind of recording. Matt and I have been like on like summer. Like it's been a go type summer, and
Yeah.
I'm surprised we were so consistent during the summer as we were. And we just finally now like summer program is done. Right? Like we're done.
Cue the fanfare and the celebration.
Summer is done and we're gearing up for the fall. Like we just planned our fall kickoff and doing all that stuff. So all like the traveling and summer camps and things, like it's like we ramp up during the summer. I don't know what you guys do in your ministries, but we kind of ramp up during the summer, do a little bit extra events, summer camps. And at least with me, like I was speaking at different camps, and Matt, you were leading worship at different places. And so we're back onto it, and we're going to get back into a normal thing where we release something every Sunday. So don't worry, we're back. But with that said, Matt, like what for you, like what was the best part of summer, like ministry wise? Like what was the greatest moment for you?
Oh, man. Best part of, well, I guess it was twofold. I loved camps. Camps were the best. Had really great small group experiences within our high school summer camp. We went to CIY, and they do such a fantastic job and just allow us as leaders the opportunity to just be leaders and just be pastors to our students rather than having to be doing the programming and doing the worship and doing the speaking and all that type of stuff. So that was fantastic. And then we also did like a young adults getaway at our church, which was really, really fun. And I loved that because my wife and our baby came along. So it was like the last thing we did. So it wasn't super... it
wasn't worky.
No, not at all. It was really nice. We did it in Palm Springs. We rented out like a conference room in a hotel and did it there. And it was all the best things. It was like family. It was Jesus. It was Palm Springs. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. Yeah, I'd say like the young adults retreat, I was there too, and my wife and my baby came as well. And it was so fun. Like I had a good time because me and Sean, our junior high pastor, we hosted the thing. And so like we were like the host during service, and we played games. And like favorite one was we played Extreme Bingo using like DYM boxes on the DYM Games app. And by the way, our unofficial sponsor, DYM, like Download Youth Ministry. Yo,
Shout
guys,
out.
Josh, Doug, let's go. Sponsor us. I mean, we just talk about them anyways. I love those dudes, and Boxes was phenomenal. And they actually put our Extreme Bingo that we did, it's for free on the DYM store.
No way?
Yeah. So you can actually go and download our consequences that we did.
Oh, man.
And I wrote a blog about it, so you could go on, I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay,
Like you could put how we played DYM or use boxes from DYM to play Extreme Bingo, and then also put the link to the free Boxes game on the store.
What's your favorite box from the game?
I
I know what mine is, and I'm not sure if it's appropriate or not.
I know what yours is, and you need to say it. I think mine honestly was, one of them was like, go jump in the pool.
Yeah.
And it never happened. And like, I wanted to make it happen. So that was, but my favorite one honestly was, it was a consequence where the moment, so like the way that we do it is you do the box, we call it Boxes of Doom, and it was like Boxes of Doom.
Boxes of Doom.
Whatever, if you got the next number in bingo, right? Like then if that's you had to do the consequence, and the consequence was a wardrobe change. And because we're in a hotel or whatever, everyone's room is above us, and so it was like a really well-known number, I guess, or like a I don't even know, a frequent number. And I was like B7, and no joke, like 15 people ran out of the conference room, and the thing was you had to completely change. No article of clothing could be the same before you come back in,
Yeah.
and we just continued to play, and we got in trouble by the hotel,
Which is the best time
yeah,
in the world.
yeah. Hotels like come in like, can you people have not run?
Can you not have fun?
Yeah, and so
No,
that was my
sorry.
favorite. What was yours? I know what it is, but you need to say it.
My favorite was one we called "Get Them Digits," and it was so that each little box of Doom has an emoji that represents it. So obviously, it was the peach emoji.
Obviously,
and
it's
the
a young
whole
adult. The best thing about young adults retreats is you could do stuff there that you can't do in student ministry normally because everyone's adults.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
all the things that you like, man, this would be really funny, but like my conscience and my job says I shouldn't.
Yeah.
You could totally do here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically the same type of thing. If you got the number, you had to stand up. And the way Justin and Sean framed it, which was so beautiful, was, listen, we know you walk into the room and immediately you looked at someone, you made eye contact. You knew from the moment that you wanted to get their digits. So we're going to provide that space for you to do that. And it was the best time. It was, I think, so someone actually got it. I don't know if she did or not.
No, she did.
She did?
Yeah, she did.
Oh my gosh.
It was amazing.
That's fantastic.
So she got those numbers. And so, but yeah, we'll put it on the show notes. You could get it. It was super fun. That was by far, it was great.
Yeah.
Palm Springs, I'm actually going there tonight after service for the next 5 days. So people are like, how do you go to it so hot? I don't care. If I'm in something cool, it don't matter. And then obviously like CIY was, for me, it was a highlight. Like we program, which we're talking about in our episode today.
Programming.
But we program like 47 weeks a year,
Mhm.
and CIY is the 1 week where we don't have to do anything, but we just get a B.
Yeah.
And so I loved just being in. I think my favorite part was like during free time was like, hey, students, I'm going to be at the coffee shop for 2 hours a day from 2 to 4. And come, if you want to come hang out with me, come hang out with me. We could talk about anything. We could talk about nothing, or we could talk about something specific, but I want to get to know you more. And it was awesome because I was full for the 2 hours every single day. So
that's so cool.
That was my favorite. So obviously though, so Matt, let's kind of move on a little bit. And we kind of hinted at it, like we're going to be talking about programming in general, like you and I pretty much, and with the help of Sean, who's not on the couch, we kind of run the programming as far as like our service.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about like some hacks. And I think we just led like a master class, quote unquote, with our like whole student or family ministries department, and kind of working with everyone who does programming, and we kind of taught how we do it and why we do it. And so we're going to talk about that today. But before we do, we have questions.
Yes.
We got some people. So, I mean, Matt, can you tell us like how can people send in some questions, and we can kind of answer through some of those?
Yeah, totally. So we desire that this space and this time would be a fruitful time for conversation, and one that you'd be a part of as well. And so there's a few ways to jump into the conversation and be a part of it, and have some questions, or I guess ask some questions in this environment. And so one of which is reaching out via email. That's we've got an email on Gmail. Email on Gmail. There we go. It's the Other Student Ministry Podcast at gmail.com. Once again, that's the Other Student Ministry Podcast at gmail.com. That's a great way to send in your questions, maybe more formally. If you just want to, like, in 140 characters or less, send in a question as well. You can also reach out on Twitter using the hashtag YMHacks. That has been like gaining a lot of traction lately and kind of blowing up, which is really cool. I think it's been featured on the DYM page a little bit, just talking about like those conversations. So that's been really, really fun to see. So those are two ways that you can get involved with the conversation, like we are going to now.
Like we're gonna answer some. So here's what we're gonna do, because we have a tendency we like to talk, and I don't want to go too long. So I'm gonna put like 7 minutes on the clock.
Sweet.
Just so we have 7 minutes to bust out as many as we can. And then once the 7 minutes is done, we're going to move on to what our original thing is hacks on programming.
Cool.
Sound good?
Sounds awesome.
Okay,
Let's do it.
ready? Clock begins right now. Right meow. So this question is from Jeff Mason. And he says, my group is pretty small, 12 to 15 on a Wednesday, and I don't have a band, because I'm assuming he listened to our podcast on like student-led bands. How would you do worship portion of your time together? I have both junior high and high school together at the moment, but I'm thinking music videos from concerts, but I have a small brain. Jeff, I'm sure you don't have a small brain.
No.
But Matt, so being the worship guy,
Yeah.
and let me just say this, like, we don't know everything.
Hmm.
We have a different context or whatever. That's great. But like, how someone who wants to start and have a worship section in their service and they don't have a band,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah. I think I would start by trying to find someone to run that, whether that's, I assume, like, if your youth group connected to a church, you probably have some sort of music minister or like a worship pastor or something like that within your organization. And I would try to find them and chat with them to see if they wouldn't be willing to come maybe like once a month or every other week to come and lead worship for the students. And it might not be exactly like what you want,
Style wise?
yeah, and even like culturally, but it will start to like it's the first like domino to fall, if that makes sense.
Totally.
I think while I think the music video thing might get you the songs that you want, I'm just thinking like engagement wise, I don't know if that necessarily would lend itself well to that. I think you might get a lot of like standing and watching, as opposed to like engagement. So, while you might want to do the most current up to date songs, if like your music minister maybe wants to do something from like 10 years ago, I would probably like lean towards the live worship, even if it's just him with an acoustic guitar or just him with a piano, or if she just like plays like a ukulele and sings or something like that. I would probably tend to lean towards that, and use them as a resource. That's a great opportunity to like bridge that gap, like interdepartmental gap type thing, and say, hey, like we want to do this. Can you let us have one of your worship leaders who's still learning how to lead, and we'd love to provide them with this context and this platform to learn how to lead.
Helps them get better, and you have live music.
Yeah.
So you don't be picky at this point.
Completely.
It's like, find someone who did who learned how to do guitar a year ago and who could kind of sing. Yeah, I lean more towards live anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But we've also done at the same time too. There's moments, and maybe it's not an every week thing, but maybe a lyric video would be good, because then you could talk about like, it's not about the band or whatever,
Right.
but it's about the words and actually do it. So I think you could do both.
Yeah,
But like, I
completely.
would definitely lean on that one for
Mhm.
sure. Okay, next one is from from Adam Coleman, youth pastor at Living Faith Baptist Church. He says, hey all, I've been really enjoying your podcast so far. He's a youth pastor here in Hartford, Kentucky. And my question is, how you use Snapchat in your ministry, or what is your view on social media and youth ministry overall?
Do you want to take that one?
I'll take that
Sweet.
one. Yeah, because I run our social media for our
Yeah.
student thing. So what do I think about social media overall? You need it.
Completely.
I think with our culture today and students' culture is that's probably the best way to communicate to them, not only information, but interactively as well. Like, if you're just putting out information, like, they'll blow up by it. But if you could have like some little bit of interaction, or some, maybe like you post your thoughts every once a week or something like that on something, there's really good interaction. So I think you need social media, at least for us. Instagram and Snapchat are probably the two biggest ones.
Mhm.
And so we use it all the time. And so if you want to see what we do, I'll just throw it out there. It's the @CCV students _SD for San Dimas.
Nice.
And so that's where we are if you want to kind of see what we're doing. And that's the same thing with our Snapchat. So let's answer the Snapchat one. We do use Snapchat in our ministry. During the summer, we kind of took a break of it, but we're going to start gearing up, because I love the filters, like the you could make, it's called a fence around your property or whatever. And if your students are there at your service, you can make a custom filter for either your church or the event that you're at, or it's a special something, and they could use it. And like, it's been really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, let me give you some stats. Okay. Like, 12 weeks, we did it for 12 weeks in a row. Cost around $20 or so a week to do it, if you could make that happen. But the views of it, so like, not only their views, but their friends who saw their views, who every time that our filter was used on their thing, for 12 weeks, we had 250,000 views.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. So that's just exposure.
Yeah.
Like, that's worth $20 to me. And so like, I'm just
Yeah.
like, that just is like showing their friends, like, hey, this is where you're at. And they ask, like, where are you at right now? I'm like, I'm at church.
Yeah.
And they have our own Snapchat filter. And the best part about it is that we give it to students. And so every week, like, I've been giving it to our student leadership team, and they like go around and interview people, and they kind of show on our own Snapchat what the service is like. And I tell them all the time, make people bummed that they're not here. You know what I mean? And so like, they're out there and they're having fun talking with people, new people, friends, and they're all on Snapchat and they watch each other. So that's what I say.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. You have anything on that?
Yeah,
You have a minute and 37 seconds.
yeah, I am all for I'm all for social media. Within our band culture, we typically don't allow students to have their phones out with them during rehearsals, that type of thing. But while that is like on paper kind of spoken, like, hey, I don't want to see your phones, I'm not really like a stickler with it, because I actually don't mind the occasional snap or like the Insta story or that type of thing when students are like leading worship and getting prepared. Because more often than not, that's them sharing what they love. And so if they love like leading, they love to be a part of that, and they love what's happening during the rehearsals, and they're just building hype and excitement for the time that we get to do this like corporately together. I'm into it.
Totally.
Super into it. So I'm not going to tell them to put their phone away.
Exactly. I like it.
Yeah, me too.
It's a good thing. So, man, thanks for your questions, Adam, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
Man, we did that. We got 38 seconds left. So we're just gonna stop that there.
Right.
I think 7 minutes is good.
Yeah, that is.
I think that's a good amount of time. 5 minutes would be too soon.
Yeah,
we would have gone way over. But man, if you have questions, man, send them in using the hashtag YMHacks or the other student ministry podcast at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Matt.
Yeah.
Switching it up now.
Uh-huh.
This is where the music changes, right?
Right.
And like doing all that stuff
here.
And so what we want to do is like talk through hacks and like programming. So we're talking specifically our service, like specifically our service and how we have gotten to where we are at this point. We're talking before service, after service, everything that has to do with like on Thursdays we meet and plan service. It has to do with 6:30 to around 8:45, whatever happens in there, and how, why, what we do, and our thoughts on it. And so we'll love so we taught a masterclass just this week with our family ministries, talking about how we program, why we program, how we do everything that we do. And so we're sitting there going like, dang, this would be a good podcast. Like, this is good. It's good stuff. Like, and it helped us to like realize, go back on like, man, why do we do what we do? Why do we, is it strategic? Do we just do it to do it? And so I would love to set that up. Yeah. So like for you, programming, like give us like the idea of like, what is programming first of all, and why do like everyone does it?
Totally.
If you lead a youth ministry, but what is it for us?
Totally. So for me, programming, when you kind of look at it, like I guess definition wise, programming is like the structure or the elements, those type of things. It's the like framework of how we are getting to achieve our goals for the night. So for us, there's three things that we want to see happen on a Wednesday night. We want students to encounter some sort of element of fun. We want them to encounter a corporate worship experience, and then we want them to encounter biblical teaching. And so those are the three things that we're shooting for on a Wednesday. If there's an element or something like that we want to try to do, and it doesn't quite fit into those three categories, which they're broad categories, so a lot can fit into there, but if it doesn't fit in there, we don't do it.
Right.
And it's that simple.
Yeah. And then like to be specific too, like we're not talking leadership here. We're not talking like your leaders. We're not doing it like this is like strictly the service.
Yeah.
Like the elements that make actual service happen. We'll plug people in to do them.
Right.
But the elements itself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I love that just because those three things are the things that we do: element of fun, corporate worship, biblical message. No matter what, we will do them different orders. We have them no matter what. Those are kind of like our values are driven like we're going to have this at all times. And so one of the things that we talked about is like, so how do we do that? And I love, Matt, you put these into your words, and it fits really well into what we do. Can you give us like, what are the three words? And like, let's break through them. Like, let's define them. And let's talk about each one individually, and then what elements that we do in our programming goes through some of those things.
Yeah, completely. Cool. So when we talk about programming, we kind of talk about it using these three words. And those words are balance, pace, and space. So the first one, balance, we're literally talking about like how balanced is something like too heavy on one side, too light on another, and it's important to consider when we're thinking through balance, considering the balance of a service, but also considering the balance of a series, and then even of a season. So like, what does our summertime look like? Did we do things more heavy on the fun side of things during summertime, or even like our big like one nights. That's stuff to look at. The second one is pace. So this is how quickly we're moving from, or moving through an element. And so that's really driven and dictated by the leaders that are running those elements. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then the third one is space, and simply that's how to get out of the way of the Holy Spirit and to build elements and moments that allow us to easily follow the prompting of the Holy Spirit. And I kind of put like a little asterisk by it. Like we hold our whole program really loosely. It's all open hands, that type of thing.
Totally. Yeah. So let's talk about the first one, a balance of like you said, it's a balance of service, balance of a series, and balance of a season. So let's just break that down. So balance, let's just start with broad. So balance of a season, like for our ministry, like let's just take summer, because we just talked about summer. Like how would you go through like the balance of the summer, or how would you say we did a balance of the summer? Like I could tell you what we have done and then what we did this summer, and it's a big difference.
Yeah, completely. I would say though, both of them lent themselves really well to relational ministry. Let me back up just for a second. So I'm assuming just like in maybe not every other context, but like heavy in student context, your lives as student workers probably go from hectic to chaos during summer. So like, you're making sure that you're running your student ministry, you're running your small groups, you're trying to coordinate with your worship leader. You have your Sunday morning responsibilities, you got all that. And then all of a sudden, all of your students want to hang out all the time because they have nothing to do. So then you are planning beach days, you're doing all these things. And so that's what our summer looks like. Our summer actually ramps up. So by the time we get to fall, it's almost like a little bit of a dip, at least workload for us. But we know at least seasonally then that if summer is going to be a heavy time, and heavy relational time, we're going to kind of back off a little bit on some of the other elements in service. So our service times will actually kind of shrink a little bit. We always aim to get out at like 8:35. Inevitably, we go to 8:50. But if we try to aim...
Sometimes. In there.
Lately. Completely. So, great example of kind of like what we've done to step up our relational game this summer. We've done these Chick-fil-A hangs afterwards where, do you want to explain that? You're the one who kind of worked that out. That was really cool.
Totally. We, so let me back up of the backup.
Nice.
2 summers ago, we thought we're going to make this the best summer ever. And we did all these things, planned all these like park days and all this stuff. And it was like weekly type things. And it was like, we were dead.
You can't see it, but Justin's crying right now.
There's just what's that like old commercial where like the Native American, someone like
they
throws the trash bag, and there's just a single tear. Like when I think of the summer 2 years ago, that's what I think of, and that's what's happening right now. And it was just like by the time of that, we're like, shoot, we're not going to do that again, because our balance was way off. So fast forward to this summer, we honestly did our normal program, and we did 2 beach days. And I think this summer we're going to do one big one. And then we did Chick-fil-A Hangouts. And the Chick-fil-A Hangouts is like, this is a great balance and a perfect picture for me of summer in Southern California. Nice weather, not too hot. And one of our leaders is the new general manager of the new Chick-fil-A that opened up a mile from our church. Praise the Lord, holy chicken. And we worked it out to where if we challenge, because we want our students to take notes, we have notes and bulletins provided every week, but we want them to get in the habit of it. And so we worked it out with them to say, if we come to Chick-fil-A after service all summer long, and if you show your filled out sermon bulletin, Chick-fil-A will give you a free ice cream cone. And
it's legit.
Yeah, we like to call it the ice dream cone, because there's nothing better than a free ice cream cone. And so it was just awesome, because it was first one, maybe it was like a pretty good turnout, and then it built, because then all of our leaders went, and so like leaders got to hang out with students outside of service. And then by the end of the last one that we did, I think we did it for like 6 weeks in a row. The line was way out the door. I barely got my food. Like I got my food at like not 8:58 or 9:58. They closed at 10, and then they kicked us out. And so like it grew in a super relational, and it was a good balance. Like wasn't anything extra. Summer's already crazy and busy. We wanted to do something relational. We're like, man, they're already here on a Wednesday night. Let's invite them, extend the service a little bit on relational, and take over Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And it was so fun.
That's awesome. Side note for that, if you are like me and like you're like, gosh, that was such a brilliant idea, I want to do that. One of our someone who works on our team who's just brilliant, Helena. She is like so just like hospitality and wants to make sure like that people are thanked for doing that. And so the very last Chick-fil-A event that we did, she made sure that we had like a card and some like C's candies to give the workers, because we realized that it had been a long summer for them too, knowing that like 30 minutes before they want to go home, and then all these kids are going to show up and be animals.
Just a
that type of
big
thing.
mob.
Yeah. So that's a hack for you. Be sure to like thank the place that you're going to.
Mm-hmm. And it was awesome, and they loved it. It was amazing. So that's balance in a season.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of go balance in a series.
Cool.
Like,
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. So balance in a series. When you're crafting your series arc, you want to make sure you're telling a story that we're going from one place to the next place to the next place, and then kind of like landing on your final point of like what you would hope students would take away from their series, right?
Right.
So I can really only talk about what I know. So
I'll fill in.
Yeah.
On that, because you talk about worship,
Yeah.
I'll talk about like the teaching part.
Yeah. So a few years ago, we did a worship series, which was super fun. It was called More Than Music, and so the whole idea that we wanted to get through to students was that worship is not just the music. It's not just the 20 minutes we have together. It's not just the hypey songs. Like it's not just like your grandparents' hymnal book. Like it's not those things. It's actually like a posture of the heart, and it's a lifestyle. It's what we're doing all in between. And then when we're joining together, it's like that. Like when we talk about corporate, like this is the 20 minutes we have together to do something unifying, to all worship together, to kind of have that like recharge to then like go out and continue to live that life. And so through the series, we started the first week, normal worship. We did all of our stuff. Week 2, nothing. There was no worship. There was no music worship, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And so Justin taught a message about how it's more than music. And then the following week, I was able to kind of like fill in some of that of like the lifestyle and posture and that type of stuff. So we went from full music to no music to then like the week after we had a full like
all
night
music
of worship, which was so cool and so powerful. And so that was like, for me, at least within a worship context, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like a series of balance.
Yeah, totally. And I think like on the teaching thing of like, when I like, if I'm teaching and we're going through a series, the series arc is like knowing week by week of like week 1, we're introing the thing. Week 2, we're hitting the heart. And then week 3 is what do you do? Like if you were to kind of break those things out, that's kind of, and even within a message, that's exactly what you do regardless. It's like, what's happening, hit the heart. What do you do? Practical. And so even on a teaching thing, like just say a balance in teaching, I don't only want to use my notes. There's some times where like I'll have students stand up. I'll have like some sort of like takeaway. Sometimes I have leaders like be available for prayer, like, or we'll have Matt do a special song. So just kind of like a balance in like the ebbs and flows of whatever like the ministry is, and kind of make sure it's not, I just don't like mundane and like repetitive type stuff where if our students know, okay, well, he's going to go into this kind of story and then do this and then do this and then they do this. If they know what I'm doing, like I don't like that.
Yeah.
And so like I want to keep them on their toes, and having the balance between, takeaways or illustrations or physical illustrations, videos, like it's just a good thing.
That is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one is balance within a service. And so do you want to kind of lead this one off?
Yeah. I think balance within like our service is, it's, well, first of all, like atmosphere starts when students start showing up.
Yeah.
And so even like kind of walking through of like, you want to take them on a journey. And a lot of student ministries, at least what student pastors like get made fun of all the time, is like, they're always hyped, right? Like, and just, that's a funny word in general, hype. Let's get hype. Totally 100. So let's, it's totally 100. And so it's just even like going through the balance of like our service, like we're very intentional. Like, I mean, we don't do anything just to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we do is very intentional. So when we walk up, like if you were to walk through our service, like at 6:45 is when our campus technically opens. Our cafe on campus is open. We have great volunteers that run that. And music is bumping, and we have a pretty high paced playlist outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so that way, when you walk up, it feels like really, really good and like kind of bumping a little bit, and you kind of feel the energy, and it goes right into like when we enter into service, like we have, leaders do like a high five, like kind of victory tunnel type thing, and the hype's still up and a great track playing when the kids are walking in, and then it goes straight into like announcements and stuff like that, and even like the stuff of like while we're giving announcements or playing a game, this track behind us while we're giving announcements, it's not dead, and it's also not a solemn song. Like we got and no lyrics.
That's huge. Yeah,
and so
huge.
like even just the balance of that kind of stuff, super intentional of like we want to keep up the energy, because nothing's worse than like if outside is all amped up and they walk into a dead room, that just sucks out all the energy. So even just having the music with no lyrics, because if you have lyrics behind you, the kids, if they know the song, they're listening to the song instead. Or
and you're competing with Drake.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're competing with whatever song's happening. So even just having no lyrics specifically. And we have a playlist. I mean, I'll put the links in the show notes of like what we use. Like we have announcements playlist and we have a games playlist. And so we'll put that in the show notes too. And just because it kind of keeps up, and honestly, music determines what's happening. But also at the same time, like I don't want to keep it all up hyped. Right. Like our balance is if we want to take them on a journey, we want to have them go through. So like, let's just even talk through, I won't talk about it till pace, of even some of those things. So I'm jumping ahead. But like balance of like walking through of like how much hype do you have and how much, needs to be serious moments, and there needs to be, so like even being very intentional with like announcements and game, and into service and into worship. Like there needs to be a good balance of fun, good balance of like challenge, a good balance of worship and all that kind of stuff.
Right. And I think these are really good to use as guidelines. I think Justin, you said something a while ago that blankets are better to keep you warm than to make statements or something like that.
Yeah.
Can you say it? Because I just butchered it.
Yeah. It's like blankets are better. Like they're better for keeping you warm than for statements being made about something.
Sweet.
So you're close.
Yeah. Just about there. So the thought is, when we're looking at our service through those three lenses of like the fun of worship and of teaching, we know that we're not going to lean. Well, it just depends. It's up to you as the leader of your group, to know maybe like this night does call for like 45 minutes of games, and then we're going to do like 15 minutes of teaching, then we're going to do like 2 songs or something like that.
Right.
But if that's your every week, that's a little heavy on the games type of thing, right?
Right.
And so it's just up to you, like, just know where you're going type thing, know where you've been, and that way you can make the best educated decision of like what's more appropriate for this week. That
totally. Like if you're doing like a study through Romans, that's a really, like Romans 8, let's just say, that's a really heavy topic. Like you're going to need to teach a little bit more, but like our fall kickoff, where we know that new students are going to come, students who don't go to church, like our balance is going to look different. We're going to lean heavier on the little bit more fun side of things, and like teaching, not that it's going to be watered down or whatever, but just be like shorter.
Yeah.
And like, it's not a bait and switch, because we want them to experience what a service is really, but it's just going to be balanced different depending on what our angle or goal is trying to do.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I just had an idea. If we did a series on Romans, we got to play kill ball, and everybody has to dress up in like Spartan stuff.
Yes.
There it is.
We'll call it 300. That's actually rad. Side note, TM, we're doing it first, guys. So don't do it until we do it.
But then post your photos, because I want to see.
Because that's freaking rad. Okay, yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, what's the next thing?
Cool. So the first one was balance. The second one is pace. And quickly, that's how quickly we're moving to, from, or through an element. And so, Justin, you take most of the times, most of the host moments up top, or at least have been through the summertime, as you've kind of been introing Sean and that type of stuff. Do you want to talk about like, how do you know if a game is flopping, or how do you know if you need to move through something, or how do you know if you need to stop a moment and to pause and to address something?
Yeah, totally. I think for me, just a rule and thumb in general is always leave them wanting more. There's nothing more killing to a service or an event that's something that should have ended 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, or whatever. And so it's a big deal because it will either make or break your service. It'll make it from a good service to a great service.
Mhm.
Let's just put it that way. And so a couple of things when it comes to pay, especially if like you're hosting or leading a game or something like that. Like we don't need to go into pace of messages because you should figure that out. You know what I mean? But like hosting, like it's not just a wing it type situation.
Right.
Like a couple of big things is one, like know what you're gonna say, know what announcements are. Whoever's doing your announcements, know what they're gonna say, how they're gonna say it, and what information they need to say it in a way that is in a really big deal. Because that's like nothing's worse than going up. Well, what was the thing? What was that stuff again? You know, and kind of like throw up the slide and whatever. Like it's a really big deal. So pace that's a really good hack as far as like hosting. Just know what you're going to say. And then like game wise, like practice the game. Don't just like download it from Download Youth Ministry, sponsor us. And and just like wing it. Like when we do like a full service run through almost like without the music.
Mhm.
And so whoever's hosting or whoever's leading the game will actually play the game with the band that's like that's in there, and like like just so we could see what it's like, know how long it takes to get to something, and we could kind of make adjustments that should not be made while you're playing it,
Mhm.
like mid playing. So it kind of gets out the kinks there. But then also too, like there's moments when it pace, like if you want to focus on something. One of my favorite things that we did, like to really like when we were doing announcements, is I would take a knee. And so like service would be hyped, and like it would be like all like, you know, students are walking in, and we start off usually with announcements and kind of welcome. But then whenever I would talk about summer camp, I'd say, hey guys, kill the music. And then they'd shut down the lights and it'd just be a spotlight on me. And I would literally take a knee on stage and it'd be nothing. And I would look at our students and go like, hey, summer camp is a big deal. We don't want money to be an issue. We have scholarships available. If you want to go to camp, you could go to camp. Okay, let's pick it back up, and then turn the music back up. And so just even pace through like those type of things is huge. And so it allows you to like how you walk through the pace will keep your students' attention. And so if you kind of change up the pace on them, if they could predict it, they know what's going to happen, they're tuning out. But if you could change the pace or speed up the pace, or if you're playing the game, you're like, you don't have to go through all 10 questions. If the game's not working, don't finish it. Like abort,
huge.
abort, and like just be done, and then move on
Yeah.
into the next thing, because it will kill your service.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think another way you can do that is you can leverage technology in that as well.
Totally.
So your screens, if you need to spend like 10 minutes talking about something in your announcements, maybe you're talking through a missions moment or something like that, where you do need to like use length and have a long like conversation about this with your students during your host time. Don't have a static shot on your screens. Have some sort of like ticking loop that will take you through different shots. Tell some sort of story on your screens as well,
Right.
because that will make the time seem like it's going by really fast. Because even though your pacing and your how you're talking and like what you're doing verbally is maybe slower, maybe you're taking a longer amount of time, what's happening on screens is going to like visually make up for that.
Yeah, and it's only
pull the
affirming.
eye.
It's only affirming to what you're saying on stage.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about CIY or going to summer camp, we always had a video of last year's summer camp playing while we talked about summer camp.
Right.
And so it just,
Which there was no music on.
yeah,
That's
no,
huge.
no music. It was just a loop and playing in the background. So they have a visual, they're hearing about it. And I will also add a story to it.
Mhm.
Don't just give them information, but like we brought kids up who went to summer camp last year, and they told why they went to summer camp, and it was a big deal. And you can do the same thing with mission trips, whatever event that you're doing, make sure you have footage of it and have it be playing in the background.
Completely.
Totally.
Sweet. So the last one then is space, and this one was how to get out of the way of the Holy Spirit and to build in elements and moments into your service that allow you to easily follow the prompting of God.
Yeah. So why don't you talk about worship in? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's like a really big one, because we use tracks,
Mhm.
and we use those kind of stuff.
Unashamedly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unashamedly, because they're awesome.
Yeah.
And they make it sound real good. But like, so people are like, well, you're getting in the way I'm spirit led.
Yeah.
And so, which is awesome if that's what you want to do and you want to be sloppy while you do it. So I'm just kidding.
Rough.
I know. I'm sorry. Let me repent real quick. Hold on. Dear Lord. Okay. It's just that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And Matt, I know you use it and you said it unashamedly, but like, so how do you worship wise
Yeah, totally.
do tracks but still allow the Holy Spirit to run
Yeah,
in that?
completely. Yeah. So what we've done, I would say we value both. We value preparation and wanting to put our very best foot forward in everything that we do, because we've got this value around the church that excellence it honors God and inspires others. And so if you're a new student, if you're a new person coming into church for the very first time, and it sounds really good, that barrier of trust is already broken through.
And they know.
Yeah.
They know when things
They'll
are
know.
excellent or not.
Yeah. So that's why we use tracks, and we will do that unashamedly until the day I die. And so we do that, but in the same way, we also teach each and every one of our leaders and reinforce it that we want our students to be led by the Spirit and to be led by God as they're leading us, like to Him, type of thing. And so, practically, what that has looked like for us has been a changing of how we kind of like run our track software. So for all of my my geeks, my freaks and geeks out there, here you go. We have dropped Ableton. We have stopped using Ableton Live. We did that. We made the transition from Ableton Live to a software called QLab. QLab is by a company called Figure 53. That's Figure 53. It's a theater-based software. So if you are going to see any major Broadway theater show, something like that, you're going to the Pantages, whatever theater thing is happening in the Midwest. I'm not totally certain where you would go, but when you go for that,
all the Midwest states to me is just a blob. It's just like I'm there, you're all within an hour from each other, which is weird to me, and you're just there. We love you, but I'm from California. I don't know geography.
Right. So we have moved to QLab, which is a theater-based software, which it's huge. It's basically glorified iTunes. Let me just put it that way. So it takes a lot of prep work on the front end. There's not a lot of modulations you can do, not a lot of tweaks you can make to the tracks once it's in. Whereas in Ableton is a DAW that is like its primary use is for like live playback. So it's really like good on the computer, good on its brain, and you can like use it to kind of do whatever you want. Most DJs are either firing like live from Ableton, that type of thing, because you can manipulate whatever you need to. But Ableton's major downfall is you have to commit all the way through a track, or it's a hard cut of something. So if we felt like, hey, we need to drop this moment and just go, we need to go to a down moment, or we need to return to something like that, it's not the most user friendly. You can do it, and those Ableton wizards out there that you can do it, like, good on you. That's awesome. For us, it wasn't working. It wasn't accomplishing both sides of the coin, and so it
was awkward.
Yeah, it was super awkward.
If you would stop it because you felt like the Lord was leading you in a different moment, it was awkward, and therefore you lost the moment.
Yeah,
and so like it was just a kill, like lose situation.
Not fun. And so we moved to QLab. QLab, I highly recommend. It is glorified iTunes, so it's a ton of prep work. So all of my like prep on tracks is all done ahead of time, either in Logic or Ableton, if I'm creating or doing edits. And then it's dumped into QLab for the live playback feature. And the added benefit of QLab is that you can set either pre-weights or post-weights. So if you need to start something, but you actually want it to like wait 10 seconds and 4 frames, something like that, it will do that for you, and then it will cue in and fire your tracks immediately. If you need to back out, and you have like a moment where you just want to stop and you want to go in a different direction, it's really, really easy to, and its fade is actually really natural. We have had to fade only a handful of times since using it. For like, oh, we're not quite on, we need to back out type thing, or this is going to get really awkward. And when we do, it's pretty seamless. Yeah. It's good. And the band covers it. It's a good time.
Yeah. And it's good because it allows you, like, as a worship leader, to, yes, you wanted to use tracks and put your best foot forward and make it sound the best. But also, if the Holy Spirit's leading you in a different way of like, let's just make it the voices and we need to sing it for like 2 more choruses or whatever, because the moment is there, it allows you to do so.
Yeah. It's great. And we don't have to sacrifice one or the other with it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So that's what we're talking about when we're like utilizing technology and elements within our service to easily make that jump.
Totally. And then like same thing with like for us, like just let's just look at like how do you allow Holy Spirit to move in different areas. Like you said, I love what you said was we hold our service with open hands. And so like we use Planning Center, and we have a whole list out minute by minute by what everything should be. But man, if you hold on to that, you're gonna quench the Holy Spirit. Like you're not gonna allow him to move when you need him to move. If you're the type A person who's like who freaks out when they're like 3 minutes over on the announcements, and then like I have to hit every little thing. But like it's usually in those moments where you feel God leading you is where he usually moves the most. Like for instance, let me use last week. Last week we played Emoji Hunt from DYM, sponsor us, and used the Emoji Hunt from the DYM Games app, and it was awesome because we gave them Sean's number. If you haven't played the game, you enter in someone's number and they try to text you all like the emojis that pop up in the correct order. Didn't tell Sean that we were using his phone number, and he had 1,000 text messages by the end of the night.
Straight up 1,000.
Straight
Check
up.
Instagram for the facts.
Yeah, it's
a good
there.
time.
It was amazing. And so, but the cool thing is, and this went long. Like this was long for us. It went like 10 minutes over, but it was a God moment, and it was awesome. And we had Helena, who's on our team, who's freaking amazing, runs our groups and outreach. And she had a student come up who just got back from going to Zimbabwe with a trip with us, and we had like 6 students go on that trip, and had a student come up and tell us about the trip, some of her best parts, what it got teach her. And then that same week, this next weekend, we had a group of students going to Mexico to build a house for a family. And so not only was a student up on stage telling about how God was used her and her team in Zimbabwe and how awesome that was, but at the same time, she had that student who just got back from a trip the week before pray for the students who were going on the Mexico trip. And that wasn't planned. Like that was just a moment. That was just, and it was just, Helena felt like she was leading by the Holy Spirit and said, you know what, this student should pray for these students. And while Sean was getting this, because this happened right after our game, so Sean's still getting text messages. The moment that the student was up on stage talking and Helena just allowed this to happen, text messages stopped. Students were bought in, and they just now heard a student go on a missions trip, tell the story, and then are seeing a couple more students go on another trip. And like it just creates interest. And that would have been missed if we stuck to our planning center.
Script.
Yeah. And it was just a God moment in our service that was just really awesome. It went long. Our service went long, but it was powerful and it was good. And so like there's just moments like that where we could allow space for that to happen. In the top of my sermon last week, talked about all the stuff that's going down in like Charlottesville. Our students are not stupid. They know what's happening. And so we addressed a couple things that went along with it, and allowing space for that to happen for either current events or things that happen in community, things that need to be addressed within your ministry, like that you feel God is prompting you to address. Allowing space and being intentional about that space, not holding everything tightly, allows God to move in those moments. And usually those are the most powerful moments. Man, hacks in programming. Remember, hey, it's the balance, it's the pace, and it's the space, and it allows us to really be intentional with what we're doing. And we hope that this has been helpful. It's been helpful for us to be very intentional about these different areas and looking at this when it comes to specifically programming. So, man, Matt, I love it. Thanks for sharing a little bit. And oh yeah, don't forget, subscribe. Push that button, yo. Push it wherever it is that you're listening to. Push it right now. If it doesn't say subscribe, come on now.
With an A at the end.
Yeah, subscribe. Man, push it and hang out with us. And don't forget, you can send in your questions to the other student ministry podcast at gmail.com, or on Twitter, use YM Hacks. Just go check it out on there. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of hacks on there. And if you have programming hacks, stuff that you think that's killed and it's helped you and your program, add to the conversation using YM Hacks. And it's going to be awesome. We'll make sure to put everything in the show notes as well. And man, thanks for listening. We're going to be back. We'll promise you. Summer's over, y'all. We're going to be back.
See ya.
See ya.